In 2003, a parasitic fungal outbreak ravages the entire world. As years pass, more and more people die, as the infected transform into terrifying monsters who pass the illness through biting. 20 years after the initial outbreak, the world is in a post-apocalyptic state and controlled by a totalitarian regime. Joel starts traveling with Ellie, who is immune to the infection. Eventually Ellie is kidnapped by the Fireflies, a revolutionary militia group that is trying to find a cure. Afraid that Ellie may die during the operation to make the vaccine, Joel fights the Fireflies and rescues an unconscious Ellie from the hospital. When she wakes up and asks what happened, he lies and says that the doctors tried to make the cure using other immune people but failed. Meanwhile, the Fireflies bury all the people they lost during Joel's attack, and Abby swears revenge for the death of her father. 5 years later, Joel and Ellie are living in a community of survivors in Wyoming. Today Ellie is practicing hand-to-hand combat with the guys and is proud to win her fight. However, she gets angry when she learns that Joel asked them to pull their punches when they practice with her. A construction group working on building a new house discovers an old pipe that is filled with roots. Dina brings the news to Joel because he's the foreman and finds him fixing some breakers. She asks him to teach him, and while they chat, she realizes that he's been going to therapy. Joel asks her to keep the secret. Out on patrol, Ellie and Joel's brother Tommy kill some infected with a sniper rifle and notice that the number of infected in the area has increased. After finishing for the day, Tommy wants to put Ellie on gate watch, but she guesses Joel told him to, so she convinces him to keep her in patrol. Later a new group of refugees arrives. Maria worries about the lack of room and Joel suggests they should look after their own, which means leaving the refugees out in the wild. Maria reminds him that he was once a refugee too. Afterward Joel goes to therapy with Gail to complain about the rocky state of his relationship with Ellie. Gail points out that Joel has been going in circles for the last few sessions and should just tell Ellie the truth. To show an example of how honesty can heal, she admits that she hates Joel because he killed her husband Eugene. Then she asks him to say what he's afraid of saying, so a crying Joel says, "I saved her," before leaving. The next day, Ellie goes on patrol with other refugees, including her crush Dina. On the road they discover a trail of blood, so Ellie pushes ahead while ignoring the warnings from the others. Dina follows her and together they find the bodies of a bear and several infected. It seems they killed each other in a fight. There's blood on the wall of an abandoned market that indicates there may be a surviving infected inside, so the duo goes in to investigate. When they approach a window, they hear some noises that indicate there are two infected. The girls split and Ellie finds an infected first. She jumps on its back and stabs it until it falls dead. Dina joins her after killing the other one, and on their way out, Ellie steps on a deteriorated floor area that breaks and makes her fall. While Dina searches for an exit, Ellie looks around and finds an infected. She gets her gun ready and yells at the creature, who quickly runs away. Ellie goes after it and the infected tries to attack from behind, but she hears it and opens fire. The monster dodges it and attacks Ellie from the side, managing to bite her stomach in the struggle. Thankfully Ellie has a second gun and uses it to kill the infected. When Dina finally finds her, Ellie makes sure to hide her injury. Later the girls report to the town council, explaining that the infected seem to be getting smarter. This makes everyone worry about the possibility of hordes forming. Then Ellie goes home and uses a knife to disguise the bite as a cut before stitching it. That night the town has a New Year's party. A drunk Dina asks Ellie to dance with her and starts flirting both verbally and physically, which ends with them kissing. They're interrupted by Seth, who reminds them this is a family event. The girls get ready to leave but Seth calls them a slur, so Joel shoves him to the floor while telling him to get out. After the guy leaves, Ellie snaps at Joel, saying she doesn't need his help. This causes Joel to leave in shame. Meanwhile the roots in the broken gas line are growing, revealing to have the fungus. On the mountain, Abby's group sees the town from afar. When they stop at a lodge for the night, Abby has a nightmare in which she sees herself before finding her father's dead body. Once she wakes up, she watches the town with her friends. It seems the place it's not just a small camp, it's a well-fortified city with patrols that will make it hard to sneak in. In the morning, Ellie wakes up to find the town on high alert. It turns out that last night, the patrol found a pile of dead infected that were concealing a live horde underneath the snow. Tommy leads a meeting in the restaurant, reminding everyone of their emergency plan. If the alarm is rung, all non-combatants are to barricade in basements and cellars while the rest will take to the rooftops with guns. After the meeting, Seth apologizes for his behavior and offers some packed food for the patrol shift, but Ellie doesn't take it. She and Dina's ex Jesse leave for their patrol and notice there's a snowstorm oncoming. Soon all the different teams report losing visibility and Tommy uses the radios to tell them to come back. Jesse and Ellie are too far to return safely, so after storing their horses in a stable, they hide in a store. They find some Mary Jane plants there and a firefly pendant, so Jesse explains that they used to belong to his former patrol partner Yoon, who quit the Fireflies because he got tired of killing people. Joel had to kill the guy after he was infected. In the mountains, Abby sees Joel and Dina on patrol and tries to follow them. However, when she tries to go down, she slips and rolls down a hill. This area is full of infected buried in the snow, who immediately wake up when they hear her. A chase ensues and Abby reaches the wall surrounding a copper mine. She climbs the ladder while kicking all the infected that try to grab her legs and successfully jumps to the other side. However, when she runs to hide behind a building, a bunch of infected try to reach her through a fence that soon collapses on top of her. Abby crawls as fast as possible and leaves the narrow space, but unfortunately the fence breaks and an infected jumps on her. Before it can bite her, Joel shoots the creature in the head and helps Abby hide with him inside the building. Dina is waiting with the horses and explains they can't return to town because of the storm. The infected are pounding on the door, so Abby tells them about the lodge in the mountains. They agree to go with her and leave on the horses right before the infected break the door down. In town, Tommy tries to contact Joel and Dina because they're the only ones that haven't answered yet, but there's still no response. Jesse and Ellie hear the call on the radio and immediately go back outside to search for them. Meanwhile, the construction group breaks the pipes and finally finds the fungus, which attracts all the infected in the area. The horde chasing after Joel's team suddenly turns around and heads to the town instead. A guard sees them and raises the alarm, sending all civilians to hide in basements. Fighters rush to the wall with their weapons and throw oil barrels at the incoming horde. Then they light them up to start a big fire that kills lots of infected. The ones remaining are shot down one by one. Suddenly the infected move out of the way to let a larger creature known as a bloater pound on the wall, finally breaking it. People on the roofs open fire while Tommy and a few others block the street with flamethrowers. He shoots at the bloater to keep it away from buildings, and once it's close enough, he burns it to death right before he runs out of fuel. Maria runs through the chaos to reach the kennel and releases the hounds, who kill both the infected and bitten humans before they turn. At the lodge, Abby introduces her friends to Dina and Joel. As soon as they hear his name, they take Dina hostage to make Joel surrender. While the others put Dina to sleep with a sedative, Abby tells him that the fireflies don't exist anymore and demands the truth. He admits he was the one who attacked the clinic and Abby shoots him in the leg. Then she makes her friend tourniquet his wound while telling Joel that he killed her father, who was a doctor in the clinic. Joel asks her to shut up and do it already, so Abby starts beating him up with a golf club. Outside, Ellie sees the horses near the lodge and goes in to investigate. She follows the noises and finds Abby beating up Joel. Before she can react, Abby's friends tackle her and capture her. As Ellie yells Joel's name, he tries to move, however Abby stabs him in the neck to kill him. A crying Ellie has a breakdown and swears to kill them all in revenge. The group ignores her and leaves the lodge. Then Ellie crawls to Joel's body and hugs him. In town, the locals finish killing the last infected and deal with the fires. Soon Dina and Jesse bring Ellie while making the horses drag Joel's body. Sometime later Ellie wakes up in the hospital, but she suffers a trauma-induced flashback to Joel's death, so a nurse sedates her. 3 months later, the town is still rebuilding. A doctor checks on Ellie and announces her body is finally healthy enough to leave the hospital, but first she needs a psych test. Gail chats with Ellie and tries to discuss her relationship with Joel, however Ellie isn't in the mood and doesn't give her much information. A frustrated Gail ends up letting her leave anyway. When Ellie gets home, she finds all the tributes the locals left for Joel. After looking around the house, she takes Joel's revolver and jacket, but smelling his scent on the fabric causes her to have a breakdown. When Ellie hears Dina arrive, she cleans her face and pretends she's fine. Dina tells her she knows the names of the people who killed Joel and that their clothes had patches depicting a wolf's head with the letters WLF, which stand for Washington Liberation Front. This is a group of rebels that fight against the army and are located in Seattle. Then Ellie takes this information to Tommy and asks him to send a team on a revenge mission, so Tommy promises he'll take it to the council. Meanwhile in the woods, a group from a religious sect known as the Seraphites makes their way along a trail. The leader communicates with the scout using whistling, that way they know the road ahead is clear. The leader's daughter asks him why the prophet won't protect them, so her dad explains that the prophet isn't magic. She died some time ago and they only get to carry her philosophy. Suddenly the scout sends a warning whistle that means wolves are coming, so everyone rushes to hide. The next day the council discusses whether they should send out a team to hunt down Joel's killers. Many people argue against it, pointing out that they can't spare anyone when they're still rebuilding and need security at the wall. Seth shocks everyone by voting in favor of avenging Joel. Ellie has prepared a whole speech and explains that this isn't about revenge, it's about justice. It gets her some support, but in the end the vote against the plan wins. Refusing to give up, Ellie rushes home and starts packing to leave alone. Dina visits her and surprises her by saying she's coming too. She's even prepared a safe route on a map. In the middle of the night, the girls meet with Seth, who brings them a horse and better weapons. Ellie shakes his hand before they leave. In the morning, they stop by Joel's grave and Ellie gets to say goodbye by leaving some coffee beans. For the next few days, the girls ride the horse to travel and keep themselves entertained with road games or stories. One night they stop to camp because of the heavy rain, and they finally discuss the kiss. At first they agree it was just a drunk thing that meant nothing, but before falling asleep Dina says she hadn't been that drunk. When their travels continue, the duo finds the dead body of the religious scout. They see the symbol of his organization but don't recognize it, and the bullets indicate he wasn't killed by the army. Dina searches the bushes only to quickly come back and vomit. When Ellie takes a look, she's horrified to discover the bodies of the whole religious group, including the young girl. She can't help wondering if Abby's people did this. Sometime later they finally make it to Seattle and are surprised by how quiet it is. Meanwhile in the Space Needle, a soldier gives an all-clear signal on the radio. Then a huge group of wolves with armored vehicles marches through the city. A flashback shows an army team patrolling the Seattle quarantine zone. Suddenly the van was surrounded by a group of wolves led by Hanrahan. Sergeant Isaac leaves the van with a private and confirms Hanrahan's identity. Then he throws 2 grenades inside the vehicle and closes the door, killing the rest of the soldiers. After shaking hands with Hanrahan, Isaac asks the private to make a choice. In the present, the girls stop at a pharmacy for supplies and Dina takes a moment to go to the bathroom. Then they continue their journey, finding tons of bodies and abandoned army vehicles along the way. When Dina takes a look with her binoculars, she notices the letters WLF on a satellite dish on top of the TV station. They agree to strike at night and hide inside a music store for now. Ellie finds a guitar and plays a song for Dina. In an abandoned restaurant kitchen, Isaac is heating a pan for torture. His prisoner is a member of the Seraphites group that Isaac mockingly calls scars, and his wounds show he's been tortured for a while. Isaac burns him with the pan to try to get him to talk about the scars' next attack, but the guy just keeps praying and even offers his hand for the next round. Realizing this man won't talk, Isaac kills him with a shot. That night, Ellie and Dina enter the TV station by climbing through a broken window. As they walk down the corridor, they find the dead body of a wolf with arrows on his chest. In another room, they're horrified to discover dead mutilated wolves hanging from the ceiling and Dina vomits. There's a blood graffiti that says "Feel her love" with the symbol they saw in the woods, which means this was done by the religious group. Hearing some static, Dina grabs a radio from one of the bodies and turns it off. At that moment the girls hear the wolves coming, so they hide. The soldiers come in and start gathering the bodies. They're eager to kill the scars that did this, even though Isaac told them to capture them alive. Ellie manages to sneak out of the room and tries to open a window to no avail. When a soldier follows the noise, she tackles him from behind and starts choking him. Soon another man comes to rescue his friend, but he's shot first by Dina. While Ellie stabs the first soldier's neck to kill him, Dina shoots the window. Now the girls can climb down the emergency stairs and escape right before the soldiers open fire. After lots of running, the girls open the door to the transit tunnel. It's blocked by debris, but there's a passage big enough for them to crawl through. However, the soldiers can't follow them because they don't fit. Eventually the girls make it to the subway tunnel, but unfortunately the soldiers find another entrance and start throwing flares to find them. The flames activate some of the fungus, and soon a horde of infected emerges from the tunnels. While the soldiers fight with open fire, Ellie and Dina hide in the train, which is full of skeletons. The infected are coming after them, so the girls quickly cross cars and lock the door behind them. More infected start breaking the windows and reach inside for them. Ellie shoots at them while Dina opens the emergency hatch on the ceiling. They support each other to climb out, and now they can run on top of the train to reach the fence. They climb over it and take the broken escalator right before the infected could reach them. The front gate is quite rusted and the girls have trouble moving it. Suddenly an infected appears behind Dina, and when it's about to bite, Ellie offers her arm and gets bitten instead. Dina uses the chance to kill the creature, and then they finish moving the gate. By the time the fence breaks and the infected reach the gate, the girls are already outside. Afterward the girls hide inside a theater and barricade the door. Dina gets her gun ready to kill Ellie, who has no choice but to reveal she's immune. When Dina doesn't believe her, Ellie proposes that she can go to sleep and Dina can keep watch with the gun pointed at her. If she turns, she's allowed to kill her. If she wakes up the same, it's proof of her immunity. A few hours later Ellie wakes up and shows Dina her bite wound, which doesn't have any signs of fungus. A crying Dina admits that she's pregnant and drops her gun. Overcome with emotion, the girls kiss and end up getting dirty on the floor. The next morning Dina realizes that Ellie's tattoos are meant to cover up previous bites. She then explains she knows she's pregnant because she took several pregnancy tests at the pharmacy. At that moment the radio that Dina stole reports a retreat after the attack in the subway. The voice mentions one of the names from Abby's group being based in the hospital. The girls rush to an upper floor and notice smoke from an armed conflict near the hospital. Ellie says they should stay out of the fight because of Dina's condition, however Dina wants to keep going. Meanwhile at the hospital, Hanrahan bursts in to find several wolves standing guard in front of the sealed entrance to the basement. Then she meets Sergeant Elise and interrogates her about her decision to kill several of her own men, including her son. Elise explains she was leading an operation to clear the hospital of infected, including the basement, which was ground zero for the outbreak in Seattle. The team found fungus in the walls but also in the air, so everyone was immediately infected. Elise's son called her and asked her to seal the door to prevent the team from escaping after transforming. Hanrahan agrees that was the right thing to do and offers her condolences. In the theater, Dina tries to figure out the wolves' movements based on radio broadcasts so they can find a safe path to the hospital. She finds a route that will take them through a warehouse, and Ellie guesses that the area is not monitored because it's filled with infected. However, they have no other choice. As the girls cross the city, they discover a pile of dead Seraphites below a mural of their prophet. Dina almost throws up and Ellie offers to take her home again. This makes Dina snap and share the story of the first person she killed. It was a raider who killed her family. Dina is eager for revenge too, so they agree to continue together. That night, the duo carefully sneaks around to avoid the wolves' searchlights and successfully enters the warehouse. In a large open room, they find a dismembered body and an infected hiding nearby. The duo starts making a plan of attack, only to discover there are many more infected surrounding them from every direction. Ellie tells Dina to hide while she takes on the infected directly and kisses her before splitting. Dina rushes to hide in a cage and shoots the infected that get too close, but soon she runs out of ammo and the creatures start breaking the cage. Ellie also shoots as many monsters as possible, however there are too many of them and she gets tackled to the ground. Suddenly someone opens fire from the shadows and kills so many infected that the survivors run away. When the person comes closer, the girls discover it's Jesse. The trio leaves the warehouse and the searchlight immediately finds them, so Jesse shoots at a few soldiers while they run. They manage to hide in the park and the wolves don't follow them, which means there must be something dangerous there. As they sneak around, Jesse explains that Tommy is in the city too. Suddenly they hear some whistling and discover that the Seraphites are in the park. They've captured a wolf who tries to offer information in exchange for his life. However, the group hangs him and disembowels him with a sickle. At that moment someone whistles to give away the teen's location and an arrow lands in Dina's leg. Ellie orders Jesse to take Dina to the theater while she leads the Seraphites away. A chase ensues and Ellie has to dodge arrows as she runs. When she sees a tree with huge roots, she hides inside and the Seraphites lose track of her. After they leave, Ellie sneaks out of the park and discovers she's near the hospital. There are many guards around and even a dog that starts barking when it hears her. However, Ellie moves fast and enters the hospital through a hole in the wall. Inside, Ellie finds one of Abby's allies named Nora, who refuses to tell her where Abby is. Nora throws a container of rags at Ellie and runs away while yelling for help. As Ellie chases after her, soldiers appear with open fire. Nora finds herself at a dead end and tries to escape by climbing into the shaft, but the elevator falls and drops her in the basement. Ellie keeps shooting from above so Nora has no choice but to enter the basement, and Ellie immediately follows her. There are fungi all over the walls and spores in the air. Soldiers are caught in the plants, including Elisa's son. Nora is coughing on the floor and when she notices that Ellie is fine, she realizes she's the immune girl from the clinic. Since Nora still refuses to tell her where Abby is, Ellie starts beating her up with a pipe. A flashback shows Joel and Tommy as young boys in 1983. They recently got in trouble and were afraid of their father, who would surely hit them for it. Joel decided to confront his father and asked him why he hit them, so the man explained that their grandfather was worse to him. The dad swore he was trying to do better and expected his kids to do a little better than him someday too. In 2024, Tommy brought a loopy Ellie to her room, explaining to Joel that she was on painkillers after burning her arm during kitchen duty. Ellie admitted she wanted to be able to wear short sleeves again, referring to the bite scar that her burn now covered. The next morning it was her 15th birthday, so Joel surprised her with a cake and a guitar that had carved details he made himself. After eating, he played a song for her and promised to teach her. In 2025, Joel took Ellie on a field trip for her 16th birthday. They found a T-Rex statue that Ellie excitedly climbed before Joel took her to the museum to admire the space exhibit. They entered the real Apollo 15 command module and Ellie happily played with the switches. Then Joel gifted her a cassette tape with a recording of the countdown and launch of Apollo 11. Ellie vividly imagined herself launching into space. In 2026, Joel arrived home for Ellie's 17th birthday with another cake. When he entered Ellie's room, he found her and another girl putting their shirts back on. As the girl left, Joel noticed she had an ink gun and discovered that Ellie was getting tattoos, not to mention the Mary Jane smell. He snapped and scolded her for doing dumb teenage things, so they ended up arguing. That night Joel found Ellie moving her mattress to the garage because she wanted to have her own space. They argued again, but this time Joel admitted she was older and needed some privacy. He agreed to let her move to the garage, but he convinced her to wait because he'd fix it up first. In 2028, Joel took Ellie on her first patrol for her 19th birthday. Joel tried to connect with Ellie by showing her the ropes of patrol and suggesting they spend more time together, but her responses were terse. She'd been planning to ask Joel for the truth about the clinic, but they were interrupted by a call requesting help for Eugene. The duo rushed to the cliffside and left the horses behind to climb down. They could hear the infected screeching and gunshots in the distance. Suddenly a horse ran by dragging a scout's body behind it. As the duo continued to explore, they found a dead infected on the ground. Eventually they found Eugene, who was bitten and wanted to say goodbye to his wife before he was put down. Ellie made him count to 10 and extend his hand to confirm there was no shaking, which meant they still had enough time before the transformation. Joel asked her to get the horses, but after Ellie left, he took Eugene to a private spot and shot him. During the trip back, Ellie refused to talk to Joel. In town, Joel presented the body to Gail and invented some sweet last words from Eugene before telling her he self-deleted. A crying Ellie revealed the truth and Gail slapped Joel before sending him off. 9 months later, after the New Year's party, Ellie brought up the Eugene issue again and wondered if Joel lied about the clinic too. This time Joel finally admitted the truth. There were no other immune people and he took Ellie because the operation would have killed her. Ellie got furious because she thought that had been her purpose and he took it from her. Joel said that he would do it again because he loved her in a way she could never understand. He could only hope that one day she could be a little better than him with her own kids. In the present, Jesse takes care of Dina's arrow wound. He uses alcohol to disinfect it and asks her to drink a bit to deal with the pain, but she refuses without telling him why. Moments later Ellie comes back and is relieved to find Dina resting well. While Dina takes care of her girlfriend's wounds, Ellie explains that Nora mentioned Abby's location as a word she couldn't understand. It sounded like whale or wheel. She admits she left Nora to die and is scared of how easy it was. Then she tells Dina everything about the cure and the clinic incident. Dina doesn't know what to think and announces they should go home before turning away from Ellie. The next day Dina gives Ellie her bracelet as a good luck charm. Then Jesse and Ellie leave for the bookstore, where they're supposed to find Tommy. During their walk Jesse reveals he knows that Dina and Ellie are a couple now and wonders why Dina kept refusing alcohol. Ellie refuses to say anything but Jesse keeps talking until he guesses Dina is pregnant with his baby and complains about his child being stuck in a war zone because of Ellie. Moments later when the duo tries to take shelter from the rain, they hear gunshots and rush to hide. They watch how some wolf soldiers surround a Seraphite boy and take his clothes off to prepare him for torture. Ellie wants to help him, but Jesse forces her to leave with him because they're clearly outnumbered. At the wolves' base camp, Elise and Isaac discuss their next plan. Some officers are supportive but others seem to be against it. They also discuss Abby and her friends because they haven't heard from them in a while. Isaac is suspicious that all of Abby's crew has disappeared and admits he wants Abby to take his commanding role if he dies. However, Elise thinks that Abby buggered off and this isn't her fate. At the bookstore, Ellie and Jesse can't find Tommy. Ellie sees a children's book and grabs it for Dina. Then Jesse reveals he's in love with another girl who left for Mexico and she even invited him to come along, but he refused because he wanted to stay with his friends and family. They're suddenly interrupted by the radio picking up a broadcast from the wolves at the marina reporting an ambush by a mysterious sniper. Thinking it may be Tommy, the duo rushes to the upper floor to watch the coast and find the direction of the sniper fire. Ellie notices a Ferris wheel and whale mural on the aquarium, realizing that's what Nora meant. She wants to go after Abby but Jesse thinks Tommy is the priority and reveals he voted against this mission. An argument ensues and they end up splitting. Under the heavy rain, Ellie arrives at the docks and watches Isaac and her soldiers leave on boats for a nearby island. She gets on a boat too and tries to reach the aquarium, but the storm is making the waves too strong and they turn her boat over. Eventually she reaches the shore and the Seraphites immediately capture her. Ellie tells them she's not a wolf, however they hang her up anyway. When they're about to kill her, the Seraphites hear the alarm echoing in the village and run away after dropping Ellie. Afterward Ellie gets back on the boat and heads to the aquarium again while watching the explosions on the island, meaning the wolves have attacked the Seraphite village. When Ellie reaches the aquarium, she climbs to the roof and enters the building through a broken skylight. Many objects indicate that a few people live here. She follows some footprints and finds Mel and Owen, who are discussing their plan to leave with Abby. Ellie reveals herself and holds them at gunpoint while asking them to point on the map where Abby is. Owen pretends to reach for the map but grabs a gun instead, so Ellie immediately shoots him. The bullet passes through Owen and wounds Mel, who collapses. A desperate Mel opens her jacket and reveals she's pregnant, so she asks Ellie to open her stomach and retrieve the baby before she dies. Once Ellie has a knife, Mel tries to tell her what to do but she uses medical terms that Ellie doesn't understand. In the end Mel dies and so does the baby, so Ellie has a breakdown. At that moment she's found by Tommy and Jesse, who quickly take her back to the theater. Moments later while the group is looking at a map to find a safe way home, they hear some noises in the lobby. They run to check and Jesse is immediately shot in the head. Ellie hides but then she hears Abby's voice telling her to come out or she'll shoot Tommy. When Ellie comes out, Abby opens fire. A flashback then reveals that all this time, Abby has been overseeing the Seahawks Stadium, which contains a massive compound for the wolves.